Hey everyone, welcome back to the Old Music Matters Net podcast. I'm your host, Brian. Today, welcome a special guest. We got Travis from his first band, Diseased Earth, but he also does a side project, Locator or LCTR. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Not too bad. First off, which part of the world are you hailing from? Are you getting some pretty shitty weather?
No, I'm in Virginia, so it's actually not too bad today. It was actually pretty pleasant. It was like almost 70 degrees.
Yeah, it was 50 up here, so hopefully that's a good sign that spring's right around the corner. So
Let's hope.
let's see. All right. But actually, you're real good friends with Alec Goodson from Lux Exterminator, right?
Yeah, no, Lexus Turner, they're local boys here. We're both in Stanton, Virginia. And then a couple other bands I've seen you had on there, Nine Realms. They're actually affiliated with Locator and so on and so forth. So,
Oh, really? I guess, do they help out every now and again with that project?
no, it's just they're like so. Locator is a whole side band from all my friends that have other bands, and they know Nine Realms, and so we played a couple shows together. So they're more associated with the other guys in the band, but still, like it's kind of just like a big old network of bands and stuff. So
Actually, the way I kind of describe it, it's almost like the halo effect, where everyone played in one band or another, but mainly they were all part of In Flames at one point. So,
kind of a little. Well, basically, what happened is there was a period where Diseased Earth didn't have a drummer, and the guys from Locator were in another project and like, hey, do you just want to come play with us for a little bit, and we'll call it something else? And so I said, yeah, sure. And we kind of started doing it, and it was fun, and we decided to keep doing it, but we still all have our main bands. So it's just something we do here and there, and we get together, and like, so we kind of just get together, have fun, and play music.
I guess in a way, they put their main bands on hibernation. That's what I want to call it. So,
A little bit here and there. Honestly, Locator's like the least thing we worry about. It. The other bands all take precedence. So Locator, we play maybe 3 shows a year, if that, and that's it.
all right. We could elaborate more on that just a little bit here too. But I guess first off, how you been recently? What's new? I guess mainly with Diseased Earth.
We're actually about to enter the studio here, March 22nd. We're about to record 3 new songs that we're going to put out. We're not exactly sure yet. We're talking about maybe doing a split with somebody. We may not. We may just put them out as that. Other than that, we've just been kind of like relaxing, trying to figure out like how we want to record, getting the final pieces together. These are songs that we've been playing for a while, but when you're going into the studio, you don't want to waste time or money. So we're trying to just make sure everything's tight and go and played a couple shows here and there, but as a lot of the country, we've been getting bad weather here and there. So, and it doesn't help. Our drummer currently lives 2 hours away from us. So while the rest of us are all here, he's 2 hours away. So sometimes it's like, hey guys, can't make it, bad weather, and we kind of have to skip it here and there.
That explains a lot. All right. I think that might shed some light on one of the questions here too, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But first off, Travis, welcome to my podcast here, mate. And the way it's going to work is, can I ask you some questions? Let's get to know the man behind the music, and I guess you're representing the band at this point, so I think you're going to fill us in on every little bit of both Locator and Diseased Earth, and I guess everything else in between there too. So, ready?
Yep.
All right. So I guess I'll start back in the beginning when he was just a wee lad. And I guess first off, what role do you play in the band, and how did you become a musician?
So I am the vocalist in Diseased Earth and Locator. Myself and the bassist Joe are the only original members left. As time has gone on, we've been around for almost 12 years now, and we've lost some members and stuff like that. But yeah, it's actually kind of ironic because by career, I'm a tattoo artist. The original vocalist in Diseased Earth, when it was a different name, he actually quit the band to become a tattoo artist. So we kind of just switched positions there, even though I was already comfortable. I've been playing music since I was like 16 years old. So I actually quit playing for a while because I was in a popular, I guess, Eastern Coast like grind band called the Leviathan's Mandible. We played a lot and we toured a lot, and then that ended, and I was just like, well, I'm gonna focus on a career for a while. But the itch started to get to me, and I was like, oh man, I really need to play music again, and kind of just lucked out that the original vocalist, when Diseased Earth was actually called Gorcher, Jason, he ended up leaving, and so some of my friends recommended, like, hey, won't you come try out? And so that's kind of how that happened.
Was it one of your parents that kind of introduced you to music? And I guess was that where your obsession kind of kicked off?
No, neither one of my parents are musically inclined. No one in my family is, honestly. Music is just, I don't know, something I liked, as I grew up in a very small town, like nothing but country music. And then I heard Metallica's Enter Sandman, and I was like, holy crap, this is insane. I want to do stuff like this. And then as time went on, more bands came around, like Korn and Deftones and stuff. And I was just like, I want to keep, yeah, I want to try to play music, and tried to play guitar and stuff like that. But I just can't make it sound like what I hear in here. So I just gave it up. But then along the way, I just kind of started doing vocals, and I was just like, well, I can do this. So, kind of just went from there.
So you're just strictly vocalist? Do you ever help out with any other instruments behind the scenes?
No, I used to have a couple side projects here and there where I would do some different stuff. A lot like in the like early 2000s or like mid 2000s, like computer grind scene. I would do a lot of stuff with drum programming and stuff like that because my old band, we actually started out as a drum machine band, so I did a lot of the programming. I had I guess you would call it a down tempo ambient project called Eaters of the Dead, which was just all like noisy soundscapes and stuff like that. And I did all the programming for that and stuff. But as far as the actual instruments, no, I just I don't play them. I can play guitar a little bit. I can do your basic chords, but that's about it. I make suggestions for music and be like, okay, hey, what if we do this part this many times or this and that? But as far as the actual instruments, I don't know how to do any of that stuff. So I leave that to the professionals.
All right, fair enough. Just real quick before I jump into Diseased Earth, and then we could also jump into Locator there, I guess. What made you want to be a tattoo artist?
This is gonna sound even weirder. It's so I actually went to school to be an FBI profiler. I graduated and all that, and I had actually a full ride to the FBI. And I just somewhere along the way, I was like, I don't think this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. So I've kind of done different things, and just kind of looked into it. I mean, my guy, the guy Art who works for us, he actually did my very first tattoos, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to apprentice?" And I was like, "Man, I've never really thought about it. I've always sketched and doodled, but I've never taken it serious." And he's like, "Man, you should, because at this point I've worked in multiple shops as like the front desk help and doing other things." And I was like, well, let me try it and see." And then, here I am 12 years later, still doing it. So.
Hallelujah, we wanted to say. So, I guess, have you done like those real complex tattoos? They do like the dragons all here, or something that looks like a tribal tattoo?
I've done plenty of tribal. I'm still in an area where tribal is really popular. What I typically like to do is very weird, occulty kind of like traditional tattoos. I do American traditional mostly, but I work in what's known as a street shop. Is that whatever comes through the door, we're gonna knock it out. Except for realism, can't do realism. But if you ask me, what I really love to do is like occult, traditional, just weird, bright colors, just stuff that just kind of skulls, doorways, like tentacles, stuff like that. It probably goes back harkening to me being a big H.P. Lovecraft fan, but that's kind of what I like to do. But I'll do whatever comes through that door as long as I feel like I can do it and do it well.
Have you also done the tattoo removal? Is that starting to become a lot popular these days?
Not in our area and other next to the woods, yeah. I've actually had some tattoo removal, some lasering on the back of my leg and stuff, and it's not that bad. But as far as we just do tattoos, you get into it. You get into some places. I know a lot of bigger cities, a lot of the tattooers, they'll actually offer the laser removal, and it does help when it comes to certain things like cover ups and stuff like that. I mean, like this, if I wanted to cover this big dark tribal here on my arm, it would be hard to do. But if I lasered it a little bit, it could make it easier. But again, it's just something we don't really offer ourselves. But there are places kind of close by, like so.
Yes, real quick, what ink do you got? Mostly on the arms, and I know you mentioned one on your leg.
I have all over. Like I have both sides of my head, my neck, full arms, full back. I mean, pretty much, it's easier for me to tell you where I don't have tattooed. I currently don't have the backs of my thighs and ribs and my stomach, and that's about it. Like I even have my palm tattooed and all that, so I'm pretty well covered. You know, here whenever we get our buddy Billy White down, I'm gonna have him do the top of my head and everything. This it's all just in case I go bald later in life. That way I'll be good. I already have the sides done and everything like that. But yeah, no, I'm covered. Like I have them all over me and everywhere and stuff. So I got a lot of them.
Just say you do like the Mega Man blaster right here on the hand. Just be like, Pijoo, that old deal. So
That could be a cool one. That would be fun. I've had palms hurt. That's the worst pain I ever felt. That was the worst 8 minutes of my life. Let me tell you, that was painful.
guess we got to ask for general anesthesia next. So
Actually, they just had a first case of it was a Brazilian influencer who went under anesthesia to get a tattooed and he died. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I knew it was coming because, like, anesthesia, you know, they tell you when you go under that, you know, there's a chance you might not come back. And to go under for a tattoo, like, that's kind of crazy to me. I've always just been, like, old school and, like, nah, earn it. If it sucks, but earn it. And I've never even tried numbing cream, so.
all right, fair enough. That's a pretty cool job you got there nonetheless. But so I guess jump into the project. Let's start with disease dearth, and then you can jump into locators. So tell the audience what the history is about for both projects.
So Disease Earth started, we've been around for, it's either 11 or 12 years now, I can't remember. It started when another couple bands disintegrated and we kind of all just came together. You know, we've been doing stuff here over the years. We've lost drummers, guitarists, stuff like that. You know, it's just a bunch of dudes who get together and, you know, like to play music and stuff like that. With Locator, as I was saying before, it came birthed out of our not our original drummer, but our longest drummer Clayton leaving DE, and we weren't sure how long it was going to last. So my buddies and Alcindor were like, "Hey, let's do a project together. We can call it Locator, and we can just have fun and just play like 2012 style Acacia Strain music." And I was like, it's not really my cup of tea, but yeah, sure, I'll give it a try. And it ended up being a blast. We've, you know, played a bunch since we did that project and everything. And so it's just fun. You know, it's two sides of the same coin, so it all works out.
Apparently. And actually, how'd you meet the boys from Nine Realms and even Lux Extermina? Did they just find you by accident, or was it a show? So Lux Extermina, they've been around for a while. Jackie and Alex, they were both in other bands, and that band ended, and they started Lux Extermina. The Nine Realms guys, they were friends with Alcindor, and so once we started Locator, it's kind of like, well, we want one of your bands to play, and then if, you know, Alcindor is like, well, we just played, so we'll do Locator this time and stuff, and that's how we got introduced to them and everything. So it's just like, you know, all through the homies and stuff. Especially here in like Stanton, we have a very small scene here. It's a tight knit scene, but there's like, you know, maybe 3 or 4 bands and like that are just in the city alone, and then within the withstanding region, there's probably, you know, 20 or more. But for like metal bands, you know, there's not that many. There's more popping up, but like we all know each other and stuff like that. Joe, the bassist from DE, and myself, we used to book a lot of shows and stuff like that, so we have more inkling to know other bands and everything like that. So you try to maybe branch out when it comes to like genres, or do you sometimes like tell it's just straight death metal for like DE, and I'm not too sure if it's still a different genre for Locator, Acacia Strain? Yeah, no. So DE is more like doom sludge with like a very heavy southern vibe. Like we have a lot of like really, I guess you can almost call them like Leonard Skinner type like guitar riffs and licks in there and stuff. Then Locator is just straight moshy music. It's made the kind of stuff that people want to, you know, fight invisible ninjas in the pit and stuff. As far as like messing with other genres, like DE will kind of mix a little bit here and there, but you won't hear nothing, you won't too soft and anything like that. Like we're just like, no, this is, we know what we're about and we're gonna do it. It's kind of the same with Locator too. We know what we're doing and we're just gonna do that. We're not gonna try to mix it up or anything. Not that there's anything wrong with it, you know. Everyone in both bands kind of do stuff different. Guys in Locator, one of them has an acoustic side project that he does by himself. 2 of them have another band together.
All the guys in DE, they do different stuff as well. So we all kind of have our different tastes, our different likes and stuff. But as far as when it comes to the music, we just kind of we know what we're gonna write and what we want it to kind of sound like. So we stick to that.
All right, fair enough. And actually, when I brought Black's Exterminate, it was actually Alex Goodson, their drummer, that he was flying solo on that interview that I did. And nice kid there too. But funny enough, his cat had knocked over one of his paintings and then kind of crashed during the interview. It was like right on top of him. So attempted assassination attempt, if we wanted to say that, by his cat. So
Yeah, no, I took precaution and I shut the door to this room so the cats wouldn't try to do that because I knew that would might happen too. They'd sneak up behind me or do something. Especially Mythic, she would want to be on camera and be very talkative and vocal.
yeah, they hogged the attention. So all right. Just real quick about influences. I know you mentioned about like Deftones and maybe that's sort of like rock or early metal sort of music or new metal for that matter. Is that sort of the band or the bands that kind of like influenced your vocal style, or I guess who else did?
No, actually, so like Deftones are definitely what made me want to be a vocalist, but as time went on, I was more influenced heavily by J.R. Hayes from Pig Destroyer, Joe Horvath from Circle of Dead Children, and guys like that. Now, as I've gotten older, those are still the aggressive vocal influences I go for, but as far as writing, I actually look to guys like Tom Waits and Nick Cave more than the other ones for the writing and the imagery they use and stuff like that because I mean Nick Cave especially, that man wrote a whole album about serial killers and it was one of the most beautiful music ever. It didn't sound anything. It's like when you actually listen to the lyrics you're like holy crap, but and stuff like that. So, I still have my aggressive vocals the style that I like and the people that I'm like, okay, that's cool. But like now as I've gotten older, I'm like, I really want to expand beyond just that because I feel like as a musician, if you just limit yourself to like, no, I'm only going to listen to heavy music, you're kind of losing where you can gain something from something else. I love all types of music. Honestly, I listen every day. I listen to something probably different. This today I can't remember what we were listening to at the shop, but like here lately, I've been listening to a lot of Viagra Boys and stuff like that. There's just different stuff out there that I like to hear. I want to listen to. A lot of days, like especially if I just had band practice, I'm like, dude, my head hurts. I don't want to listen to metal. I want to listen to something chill and everything like that. So. It's good, and we all have between the different bands, we all have our influences, what we like. In Diseased Earth, our guitarist Paul, he really likes like Thin Lizzy and Mastodon and stuff like that. Joe, our bass player, he really likes that stuff, but he also likes bands like Thou and Magruder Grind and stuff. And then Damien, our drummer, is he's all over the place as well. And then in Locator, we're trying to now like because a lot of the songs we're playing in Locator are songs that Tim, the guitarist, wrote years ago. So now we're actually trying to write original stuff and trying to figure out our sound. So it's kind of interesting to sit there and be like, oh well, these were old songs you wrote 20 years ago. You don't play anymore. So now we're going to try to write something new, and it's been a definitely interesting twist for that for sure.
Yeah, considering all the influences from left and right field and everything about it. So, all right, fair enough. And show me here to the next question here too. I guess how bad was COVID for you? Were you doing anything music wise during those years?
So COVID, I mean, it really sucked on both ends because as far as tattoo wise, the government shut us down for 3 months. We weren't allowed to tattoo. We weren't allowed to work. We weren't allowed to do anything. If we tried to and we were caught, we would lose our licenses and be barred from ever receiving them again permanently. We were able to eventually get unemployment, but not at first because we are technically 1099 independent contractors. So at first they were like, nope, you don't get nothing. So thankfully, I will say Virginia was actually pretty nice about it. That they were giving an extra 600 to everybody that got unemployment because first the state was like, well, we'll give you guys 120 a month. That's all you get, and we're just like, well, that's not enough to live on. So, but thankfully they matched. But as far as show wise, yeah, we didn't really do anything. We didn't practice for the first couple months of COVID because our guitarist Paul had a newborn son kind of he wasn't exactly newborn, but I don't think he was a year old yet, but he was like, dude, I can't risk it. I need to see how this stuff goes and everything. So out of respect for him, we didn't practice for like a good month or two. And then we kind of came back, and then we were like, okay, we'll try to practice. And see, luckily, thankfully, our practice space at the time was kind of bigger, so we kind of stay away from each other and everything. And then when shows finally came back around, it was very weird at first because we were just like, do we play shows? Do we not? It was kind of that thing. What do we do? What don't we do? We tried like a lot of other people and tried to do quarantine shows, and it worked okay, but it was very hard because it's like we made an event and we were like, okay, each we did on Facebook. We're like, each band just go live in the event, everyone can watch. And so we went live back and forth from our perspective practice spaces and stuff. And it was decent. I think altogether we maybe had like 40, 60 people viewing. So it wasn't horrible, but it was definitely rough there for a while. But we also did take the time and we recorded 7 singles while COVID was going on, and we released them little by little. Once like COVID ramped down a little bit to where we were able to go and record and stuff, we did all those, and then we actually repackaged them in a compilation called "Welcome to Plague Years" and put that out. God, has it almost been 2 years now? Yeah, damn, it doesn't seem like it, but yeah, it's been like 2 years. So, but each of those songs on that album were singles that were released, recorded, and released during COVID.
That's good. You guys were able to still do the music. And was that a live stream you were talking about, or was it like just strictly a YouTube video?
It was a live stream. Like we went live. Each band went live on Facebook and just kind of went from live from their Facebook page. We kind of practiced a little bit, and like I got on my cell phone and I was like, all right, let me see which angle is gonna work, and tried to like we recorded a couple like little videos and then I'd play them back. I'd be like, okay, yeah, this angle looks good. I'm like, the sound's kind of bad, so let's try to see if we can change that. We did our best to make it as good as we possibly could, but unfortunately, it was what it was. It didn't sound half bad, but yeah, it was just definitely a live stream. Like we each went live during our thing. Probably, if I thought about it, I probably should have gotten to be like, all right, we should just get the recordings of these and put them out on YouTube or something. But man, hindsight is 2020, unfortunately.
As the saying now goes, as they as it goes. All right, fair enough. But in all seriousness, I guess were you and your family okay? Did you guys get real sick with COVID?
So it's just my mom. My dad passed away like 6 years ago, so it was just me and her. She was fine. I went and checked out on her a few times. She got COVID once, I think, and she did good. I got COVID twice. The first time and I didn't get COVID until like years after the main big COVID outbreak was going on. So it was kind of funny. I actually went to a guest spot at a different shop in Roanoke to tattoo, and one of the artists came in and he was just like, "Yeah, I don't feel so good," and this and that. I'm like, "Okay." Next day, he's like, "Yeah, I have a temperature of 106," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" So I got really bad head cold. I stayed out of the shop for a couple of days, but I tested, and every time I test negative. So I was like, okay, well, I got to work. So I went back to the shop and unfortunately gave everybody else COVID. So they were all out for a week or so and everything. Because unfortunately, the nature of our job is that with tattooing, we work very close with people. So, a lot of people will be there and stuff. And it still happens now. People come in like, yeah, I'm not sick. I'm not sick. No, 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 no. And then next day, we're all like coughing and sneezing and stuff like that. So, it wasn't too bad, and thankfully, where I was living at the time, I had a couple of roommates, so I wasn't ever lonely. So it was kind of good. I took a lot of the time and caught up on TV shows and movies, and I read a lot, so it wasn't too bad and everything. But yeah, I was thankful that nobody really had nothing did. I don't think anyone in my extended family or anything any had any troubles with COVID or stuff like that. So we thankfully were able to weather it out pretty decently.
That's good to hear. Yeah, and good to see your family are safe there too, as well as your bandmates. So good to have you along here for the ride, Travis. I know you talked earlier about the music scene, but I guess how's it recently been? I guess is it starting to look a little bit more on the up and up, or is it kind of like it's there, but it's not like popping like what you see in like Asheville or Nashville?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely not popping like there. Like, it's a small scene here. The problem we have is a real lack of venues and everything. But like, we do have decent shows. We'll get like 40 to 60 people out every time we play and stuff, and that's it's not bad. This is definitely Stanton is a very small town, stuff like that. Located we're based out of Richmond, which of course is the capital of Virginia, so it's a little bit bigger scene there and stuff. But here it's cool. It's tight knit. Like a lot of times people from other bands will be there and stuff like that. It's just, it is what it is. We kind of do with what we got. We got a few venues around here that do stuff, and then, excuse me, we got a couple other places. I know in May we're actually going to be playing at a skate park in Lexington, which is like 30, 40 minutes from here. And it's a benefit to help raise money for the skate park. We actually did it a couple years ago and it was really cool. There was like over 300 people there throughout the day. So it's going to be fun to do that again. And thankfully, this time it's not in middle of July because it was so hot on that asphalt. So, but yeah, we got a little small stuff around here that we do. We got a bar named Bricks we play at. Baja does some stuff. We had a couple other decent sized venues. The Clock Tower was one, but unfortunately it closed. Golden Pony in Harrisonburg is really cool. They do a lot of really good stuff there. They get like decent bands there. Every Time I Die's played there. August Burns Red's playing there in like a month or so, and that show did sell out in like 3 minutes, I think. We got to open for Crowbar a few times at the Pony and stuff. So we got stuff in this area. It's definitely not a scene like Asheville or Nashville, anywhere like that. It's nothing that crazy and stuff like that. But it's small, but it's tight knit, so it works for us. We make do with what we got.
That's for sure. I guess did you meet the guys from Crowbar? I guess how are they actually?
Yeah, no, they were actually cool. The pony's very small, so we were like right there. I was running merch with Kurt's wife, Robin, and stuff like that. They're really cool. They remembered us the last couple of times and everything. So they were super chill and everything. That's kind of the cool part about the pony. It's such a small place that you can kind of get to meet the people and everything like that. We've got to play there a few times. Crowbar we opened up for. We opened up for I Hate God. We got to play with this Canadian band, Brand of Sacrifice. Yeah, Brand of Sacrifice. So we got to do a few awesome things and stuff. But yeah, they were super cool, super nice. They were very funny. Kurt had always had something funny to say. So.
You still have his big Santa beard and everything too, or is he kind of like trimming that back a little bit?
Oh, the first couple of times it was definitely the Santa beard, and then the last time it was trimmed a little bit, but it was still definitely rocking. It was definitely way longer than mine. So, but he did have it like mostly white with the two black stripes in it and everything. So,
Yeah, he's a cool dude. It'd be nice to actually meet him one of these days there too. But it's a very awesome story you got there. Like I said, because while we're talking about that too, was there ever a funny incident that happened at a concert that can come to the top of your head?
oh man, there's a lot. I mean, I've been playing music since I was 16. I'm 42 now, so there's a lot of stuff that has happened that is always kind of funny. I'm trying to think of anything that sticks out. Instantly. There's a few stories that I probably won't tell on camera because they wouldn't be appropriate for most people. Trying to remember, man. It's been so long and I played so many shows over the years that it like as much as I think of stuff, it also it gets so hard to pinpoint just like one thing. Because there's been a lot of interesting experiences and stuff like that, especially playing like I remember at one point when in my old band, the grind band, we were playing with one of my favorite bands, Kill the Client, and at one point me and my best friend were running through the crowd, and it was in a house show. It was a tiny little house, so when I say crowd, it was like maybe 10 people, but we were running back and forth, bumping into people, and he's on my back, and then the singer, Champ, he actually jumps on me on the front, so I'm literally holding both of these two guys up, and we're just spinning around the room, bumping into people and stuff, and then the cops show up, and they were like, yeah, you gotta shut down and stuff, and so we waited for about 10 minutes, and then Kill the Client played like two more songs. So that's a good memory that comes up. There was actually another incident in that band where we were playing a show, and first song, our guitarist slips on water and hits himself in the eye with his headstock of his guitar, blacks his own eye. At one point, our bassist takes off his bass and is just running through the crowd trying to whack people with the bass. and it was pretty insane. My very old band, the Leviathan's Mandible. I was like 20 years old. We were just crazy, and at the time we were also Drum Machine, and a lot of people don't give respect to Drum Machine because it's like, well, that's not a real drummer. So we just went absolutely insane on stage. Like we would jump around and stuff. Most of our shows would end up with me bleeding because I would take the microphone and bash myself into the skull, and my like right here in my skull till I was bleeding. So we had like very little regard for ourselves and stuff like that. Nowadays it's way different. I'm chill. I'm not a young buck anymore. I still move around on stage and jump around and stuff, but not as much as I used to. But like I said, back then it was early 20s. I felt invincible, and I was like, well, you're not gonna really like my band anyway because you don't hear an actual drummer. So I was like, we're just gonna make you remember us by being absolutely crazy.
Because there's a certain limit of concussions that you can get. So it's almost like what they're saying about jackets. What they said was like 42 or something, and then Johnny Knoxville had like 41 at some point. So maybe exaggerated numbers, but it was still a good amount of concussions nonetheless. So, all right. But nonetheless, keep the music scene going there, buddy. Keep going strong. So, okay. So I guess you're jumping to the next one. I guess, so what sort of gear do you use? And I guess, what does the band use in the terms of music production? And if you know what musical instruments and brand they use, I guess, go ahead and share.
I know with Diseased Earth, Paul uses a bunch of different guitars. He likes pointy guitars. He always likes pointy guitars, the V's and stuff like that. I know right now his main one is a Dunnable guitar. I don't know the brand or model. Joe switches basses a lot. So as far when it comes to the technical side of things, I'm not that guy. I don't know. I have a mic that I use, and it's a Shure 58 Beta, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, with DE, they're tone hounds. They're constantly trying new stuff, constantly finding new stuff. Going to pawn shops, going on Reverb and trying to get new stuff and everything. They're constantly like, yeah, I got a new bass coming in. They're trying it and everything. And with Locator, it's a little more simple. That Tim, he owns, I wouldn't be exaggerating if he said he had over 100 guitars. So like he'll like in the middle of practice, since we practice at his house, he'll just be like, yeah, I'm gonna go get another guitar and go grab another guitar and come out and play that one and stuff like that. So his amp setup's pretty much the same. And then Greg, our bass player and Locator, he's such a good bassist that he'll just bring whatever bass he has right there. Last time I think he brought his fretless bass, and who knows what he'll show up with next time. But I mean, everybody I play with in both bands they're all great musicians, so they can kind of just do whatever. But as far as the particulars of that, I don't know that, and they try to explain that stuff to me, and I'm just sitting there like, yeah, okay, don't know what this means, but sure. So they kind of have their pick of that. But as far as vocalists, we don't get a lot. I get a microphone. I mean, I guess I could go the Steven Tyler route from Aerosmith and get a bunch of scarves, but I'm not going to do that. I have one mic that I like. I'll use it until it breaks, and then I'll probably either buy another one or I'll switch to a different brand and just keep on going from there.
I don't know, it's like Limp Bizkit. It's like, keep on rolling, baby. You know what time it is. So, and I guess speaking of studio, do you guys do your own production, or does somebody in a professional studio kind of help out?
So with DE, we're getting ready to go in the studio with Javier Ramos. He recorded a few of the songs that were featured on Welcome to Plague Years. He has a little studio in his backyard, but it's a nice shed that's like fully set up. Like you look at it from the outside, you wouldn't expect it, but you go in, it's like fully soundproofed, everything. Like he's graduated with degrees in music production and stuff like that. Actually, we used Javier for the Locator EP, Goodness Won't Save You from the Fire. And so I'm not sure if we're going to go back with Javier with Locator when we go to record. We haven't talked about that yet, so I don't know. But yeah, the Javier has been the guy we went to. With DE, we also used a gentleman by the name of Buddy Harlow, who was really awesome. He actually did mobile recording at the time, and he came to us and recorded 4 of the songs off Welcome to Plague Years in our practice space and everything, and he was really great to work with as well. So Javier is about as close to a professional studio as we've gotten, so, but like, the product sounds good, we like it, so we're kind of like, go with it. We recorded a couple songs when our current drummer Damien joined the band with a guy here in Stanton, who just was a basement recording and stuff like that. So we kind of just go wherever, as long as we get the product we're wanting. It doesn't really matter, because I mean nowadays, especially with the millions of amp sims out there and everything like that, like there's so much stuff that like you don't even really need to go to a studio, as long as you know what you're doing and have it set up right. I mean, home musicians can do stuff that sounds better than studios sometimes. So
Yeah, the rise of the home studios. I always feel like it kind of more started like the 2010s, maybe. It seemed like everyone started converting like a shed, maybe a garage at some point. Then it just like went off from there, like just maybe start off with like the basic equipment and then building up to like something what do you consider like professional, for instance. So
oh yeah, no, absolutely. Because especially like back then, 2010s and stuff, that's when I was involved in like TLM, and we were drum machines. So I was at the forefront of like the drum machine grind era that existed, and that's where a lot of the guys were doing, because they're like, oh, it's a drum machine, so we're just going to use. I remember my guitarist in TLM, Fred. He was like, yeah, I got Cool Edit Pro and this and that and Fruity Loops and all this stuff and everything. So I definitely think it kind of gave a rise from that. And then with COVID and everything like that, a lot of people are just like, yeah, why go to a studio, spend tons of money when I can just set in my bedroom and play something and it sound just as good. So especially with all the modeling amp sims out there and everything like that, some of the stuff they get is insane. I remember back in the day, the first thing I ever saw was I can't remember what it was, but it was like a little box you plug into. Fred had, and he was showing me on the screen how he could move the amp model to where he wanted it to and stuff. I was like, dude, that's crazy, because that was unheard of back then. And now it's like, oh yeah, everybody does this and everything. I remember with when Clayton was in Diseased Earth, he would record our practices with his phone, and he just had like a mixer on his phone and a little app, and he would go through and tweak the practices and then send it to all of us. It wasn't like we used it for release, but it was good for us to have. So we'd be like, all right, hey, we wrote this new song. You can listen back to it and stuff. So it's kind of crazy how the technology has really come along so far to help musicians in the sound and just even like distribution. So
that's for sure. And actually, when I was kind of looking into like getting into the studio stuff, because I got like a Focusrite later on in my life, it was I saw like some of those YouTube videos like showing like people who were doing vocals, for instance. They just did like on their bed, for instance, under their blanket too, because it would just like drown out the sound from like going out, get any sort of reverb or anything like that. So I always thought that was kind of funny.
oh yeah, I had to do that a time or two, because back in the day with TLM, when we were drum machine, me and Fred lived together because we're still best friends and everything like that, and like we'd have to do vocals in the apartment. He's like, okay, we're gonna go in the closet, you're gonna put the blanket over your head, and you're just gonna do the part. And I'm like, okay. And we just hope the neighbors wouldn't like knock on the door or anything like that. So it definitely does kind of include, and like, it's kind of insane to me, like Javier's setup. You go in and like he literally has like a control booth. He has all the soundproofing. He's got the drum room and everything, and it's just insane to me. I'm like, man, how much time had this had to take for you to just sit there and set all of this up?
That's for sure. That was got kick when people were like saying in the closet. You think back to the South Park episode when John Travolta, Tom Cruise, and who else was it at the time? It was always
It was I know this because I just watched this episode recently. It was Tom Cruise in a closet first, then they tried to get John Travolta in there, and then they used R. Kelly. And R. Kelly was because R. Kelly kept doing the trapped in a closet thing, and he would pull out his gun, and they were all run, so they put him in the closet and stuff, because it was the Scientology episode. I literally watched that probably about like a couple nights ago, because me and my girlfriend have been falling asleep to South Park, and I was like, it was weird because on Max they didn't have that episode. I'm like, I remember this episode. It existed, and so I looked it up somewhere. I was like, yep, here it is. But yeah, I actually literally just watched that within the last week. It's crazy.
Jared do the joke like, "We're not coming out of the closet, so you could just
Yeah.
go away." So
Yep. They were singing back and forth to each other. Yep, that happened.
actually, was like, "So I pull out my gun." That old deal.
Hmm.
I didn't know it was R. Kelly. I kept thinking it was like Diddy or something. I don't know why. So
No, it was R. Kelly, because it was around the time he released that. I think it was like 12 or 14 minute song, "Trapped in a Closet." I think that's what started the whole joke. And then you had Weird Al made fun of it on an album was called Trapped in the Drive-Thru. It was about him and his wife getting trapped in a drive-thru and stuff like that.
Of course, it would be something with Weird Al making fun of something. So, all right, gotta love what people come up with these days. So, I guess speaking of which, are you the primary songwriter, or do you kind of share your lyrics to everyone in the band and they contribute in some sort of way?
When it comes to lyrics, I am the sole songwriter and stuff like that. You know, they write the music. I'll help make suggestions, be like, "Oh, let's do this part, or can we change this, or anything like that." But when it comes to the lyric content and stuff like that, I pretty much do the bulk of that. With Diseased Earth, like I'm the main lyric writer. I also kind of cultivate a lot of our merch and everything like that, the image we want and stuff. So if I don't draw a lot of it, I reach out to friends of mine, typically other tattooers, and be like, "Hey, this is what I'm looking for," and stuff like that. When it comes to Locator, yeah, I write the lyrics. They kind of come up with the music. Locator's a little more tongue in cheek, so we kind of make fun of different things. One of our newest songs, I was trying to start a Kendrick Lamar Drake style beef with Knock Loose. I was hoping that someone would like tag them in it. So I titled our newest song Counting Worms as a Form of Remedial Math. And even during one of our breakdowns, I do the arf arf, just trying to like be like, hey, if they repost this about us, we'll get a little bit of fame. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but Locator's just like, we're gonna make up some stuff and everything. Half the songs are references to pro wrestling, the other half are just whatever. But DE has like a specific theme and a specific mythos that I'm trying to cultivate there. So it's all kind of like I control that and everything. And then, they write the music and I'm like, yeah, I like that or that. Or sometimes they'll always look to me. They always kind of like, they'll be playing and they look to me like, you think that's good and then not. And if they usually know if I'm in my phone and I'm starting to write stuff, then it's good. Or if I'll be like, they're playing it again and I'll start doing vocals. They're like, okay, it flies. But it's all very democratic when it comes to that stuff. But as far as the content of the lyrics and other imagery and stuff like that, that's 100% me.
It's funny when you mentioned about Counting Worms because actually it was a two song that they would do on the radio. It was Billy No Mates, right? That was the first one. Then was Counting Worms afterwards.
Wouldn't know. I haven't listened to a radio in probably
That
20
that was
years.
that was Knock Loose. I think it was
I've listened to them, but I'm not the biggest fan of them. Like it's just they're a good band, and I love their success for them and stuff. I have friends that knew them from Louisville and stuff. It's just for me as a vocalist, the range of the vocals, I'm just like I can't do it. After a while, it hurts my head. It's just it's something against their music and stuff like that. I've heard the new album. It's good, but for me, I'm just like, it's never been my cup of tea.
all right, fair enough. All right. So I guess still sticking with that lyrics, I guess. Do you sometimes struggle with trying to make some sort of lyric, maybe some sort of lyrics for like a song, for instance? Or I guess what other challenges do you face these days as a musician?
Oh, definitely. It depends on, what I'm going through in life and everything like that. There's definitely times that I'm just like, okay. For those times, I'll just create patterns and then later I'll kind of come up with the lyrics and stuff. And sometimes I'll battle ideas for months. One of the newest Diseaser songs is called Fear the Old Blood based on the Bloodborne series games. And for a while, I was like struggling and I was like, I don't know what to write us about. And then I was playing Bloodborne and I was just like, well, this might actually be a good idea. So but it just depends. I know a lot of the DE stuff, especially the stuff that we wrote during the pandemic and stuff like that. A lot of that was me still dealing with the grief of my father's death and everything. So it's kind of like that. Sometimes I have the ideas, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm like, it'll come when it comes, and then sometimes I'm just like, I'll be instantly like, boom, got it. And I keep a note in my phone where if I get lyrical ideas throughout the day, I'll be like, start writing it down. Sometimes I'll get like a single line stuck in my head, and then I'll write everything around that. And then other times, like I said, it takes months sometimes.
I guess in terms of like Diseased Earth and I guess even like Locator, for instance, I know you mentioned about lineup changes like every now and again. That's kind of happened. Was it like due to creative differences or like personal matters?
So our very first drummer, he left due to creative differences. Let's just say that. Our second drummer, Adam, he was like, "This isn't what I want to do. I want to do something else." So it's like fair. Clayton, he was there for a good long time, and he probably would still be there, but he decided that he wanted to move his family out to California because he felt or maybe not California, it was either California, Arizona, somewhere out west, because he had a better opportunity to provide for his family. So we were like, okay, cool. And then Locators had the same lineup, so it's no big deal. But yeah, and then Diseased Earth, our newest drummer Damien, he actually moved here from Kansas because his girlfriend's going to college up in Winchester, and it just so happened he posted in a local metal group and I instantly was like the first one to message him because I knew we were looking for somebody, and I was like, I'm gonna try to snag him up because drummers are hard to find, and typically they're in like 8 or 9 bands, so it's kind of like, yeah, we're gonna try to snatch you up and everything. And to his credit, he has not joined a single other band since he's been here in Virginia. He's only been with us. So that also might be because he works for Amazon and they do keep him very busy. So that hopefully that stays. But yeah, a lot of the lineup changes are just people wanting to go different routes in life or just, creative differences and a few problems here and there, but nothing too crazy. A lot of it just that, Joe, he started out at bass, and for a while he was second guitar, then he switched back to bass. We had a different guitarist, then we brought in Paul. We were doing the 5-piece thing, and then after a while, that guitarist left, and so we've just been a 4-piece ever since. And honestly, that's kind of how we like it because it is one of those things. Too many cooks spoil the stew, so it's just easier as a 5-piece. And then Locator, we're 4-piece, but we have mentioned maybe possibly finding either a second guitarist or moving our bassist to guitar or something. But I feel like we're just probably going to stay a 4-piece with that as well. So.
I thought the old saying was too many cooks in the kitchen or something like that. So, I mean, I get your drift, but I just always thought that's what they meant. So, yeah, fair enough. So, I guess this guy still does kind of stick with the challenges here too, but kind of deals with like artificial intelligence and social media these days. So, I guess, so what do you make of both of those, artificial intelligence and social media, being a little too much, or do you think it's got its uses?
So, man, I grew up watching the Terminator movies, and when I think of artificial intelligence, all I can think of is the Terminator. And I'm like, I don't know, especially in my line of work, because there are AI is starting to encroach on tattoo designs, and I definitely feel like that's a bad thing. Like, I get it, some people just use it for joking here and there. I've seen there's one guy on YouTube, I think his name's like Demon Flying Fox, and he makes all these stupid songs with AI, and it's like, it's all country western, but it's like, one was about Dune, one was about Family Guy, one was about Game of Thrones. I'm like, okay, I see it. I mean, you know, I've never used chat GPT or any of that stuff, so I don't know. I have to wonder where it may go, especially in the line of that stuff like that. As far as social media, it's a necessary evil, but it is still evil. It definitely plays into a lot of our narcissistic tendencies. A lot of people are just like, they start to become so self-important, and they think, well, I'm big on social media. That means I'm more valuable than you. And it's just like, I really don't like it. I don't like how it makes it too easy for people to be like, well, I have a significant other, but I want more attention and stuff like that. So I get it. It's definitely a necessary evil, and I need it for tattooing, I need it for music, but if I didn't need it for those things, I probably wouldn't be on it, because the older I get, the less I want to see, and I definitely see both sides of it. When it comes to anything, I always kind of defer to like Henry Rollins, and I remember seeing him live, and he spoke about how, whoever you subscribe they to, whether it be Big Brother, powers that be, any of that, they always talk, they want us to be separated on the left and the right. They want us to forget about all these gray areas in the middle where we can get along. And I feel like social media plays up to that they're always like trying to push the buttons and try to keep us at each other's throats because, they don't want us to know. I mean, they always say, together we are a lot stronger than we are separated. So whatever you akin those powers to be, I feel like they definitely use social media that to their advantage. But it's just as much as I don't like it. I mean, I'm still that person that if I see, somebody talking about, oh, Amanda Johnson cheated on my husband, I'm like searching, who's Amanda Johnson? What's going on? So, I see that it's an evil, but it's also a necessity. And I mean, I don't know. I feel bad about it some days. I'll be sitting there at the shop and I'll be like just scrolling and scrolling. I'm like, I really should be doing something better with my time. And I'm trying to do less with it, and but I don't know. I feel like it definitely helps, especially with it comes with bands too, because I had a guy that found our music online from Australia, and he liked us so much that he was like, "Hey, will you send me a shirt?" And I was like, "Dude, international shipping is gonna kill me." He's like, "I will pay it. I don't care. I love you guys' music that much." And to me, that was awesome. That I got to send something to Australia, and if it wasn't for social media, that wouldn't happen. As a tattooer, I get to travel and do stuff because of social media. So it's again, it's a necessity, but I also have to wonder. I really do worry about the future and what kids are going to do. We have a lot of people now, especially with TikTok and everything like that, that they're sitting at home being like, "Hey, I got BPD." It's like you haven't been diagnosed. You see one reel and you think that. And that stuff kind of bothers me, especially when it gets to mental health, because there's a lot of mental health up until the last couple of years has been something that a lot of people didn't want to take serious. Now we finally are, thank God, but it doesn't help when all these kids are online saying, "Oh, I have this because I watched a video and they told me if I do this that I have that," and it's like that's not how this works. Especially with myself, I am diagnosed borderline personality disorder, and I was manic depressive at one point, but over the years I've kind of music helps me manage it, but it's still one of these things like I struggle every day sometimes, and it's kind of just like, man, I hate seeing some of that stuff. I don't even use TikTok. I think I can't do it. I'm like, it's not for me. I'll stick to my Facebook and my Instagram and stuff and Reddit, but there's definitely days where I'm just like, yeah, we could be doing way better stuff with our time. We could be reading books or trying to learn something, but it is what it is. Like I said, necessary evil.
Tragically, but I see where you're coming from, man. Yeah, the only one that's used the Terminator reference, and unfortunately, we should just call it the Skynet problem at this point. So, or
Yeah.
Skynet, I should say. So, but you get the idea. So, tread carefully. We'll see what happens. So, speaking of which, I think you mentioned about Instagram, and that's actually how you reached out to me, and then that's how we were able to form this whole thing here. But what other social media are you guys on? And I guess what do you use for streaming platforms?
So for our music, we use like a lot of musicians now, DistroKid, because I mean, $20 a year, they put your music on everything. So we're on Spotify, all that stuff. We're on Bandcamp, Apple Music, everything like that. Is that I don't use TikTok, so we don't have a TikTok. We have a YouTube channel, which where if we get live videos and stuff, I'll upload it there and everything. But pretty much anything that has music or anything like that, we're on. Both bands are. So I will say that has been a great invention recently, because I know back in the day trying to get music on platforms was a pain in the butt, because you used to have to go pay Spotify, pay Apple Music and all this. But DistroKid has definitely helped it a lot, because I mean, you pay one source and they put everything on you and they let you keep all the money. So it's definitely a good thing there. I definitely enjoy that. Some of the other platforms has been very interesting. Trying to experiment with. There's one Submit Hub that I tried for a while, which was really interesting, where you could submit your stuff directly to curators and other people to see if they would put you on their playlist and stuff like that. And didn't kind of work out. So I'm just like, here's our music. It's here. If you want to find it, cool. We do well. We usually average at least, a couple thousand streams a year with DE. And I'm okay with that. I don't need to be big. I tattoo for a living. That's my career. DE is and locator. That's my passion. That's what I love to do. I'm not looking to do it as a career, because especially with music, the minute it becomes a career is the minute you're going to have to start selling out a little bit, because everybody's hands in your pockets like, hey, you need to get famous, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, so change your sound, do this. And I'm like, nah, I'd rather just make music to my own rules and how I want to do it, so I'm just gonna tattoo and pay all my bills with that.
Is that good thinking? So, all right, that's fair enough right there. Yeah, it's funny about DistroKid because I've seen some people actually complain about it, because I'm not too sure what it is that kind of like hinders them from like releasing the material like on all streaming platforms. Have you run into any issues with it?
No, not this far. I've been using DistroKid for probably like a good 5 6 years now, and I've never had any issues with it. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what other issues people are having. I've never personally had one. I know our music's on everything and stuff like that. So, I go check it occasionally. And if it has something new pops up, it's like, hey, do you want to put it on this platform? So, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what it is. Now, I think it could also be the tier they're using and stuff. I know if you're just using the basic tier, that doesn't allow you to do a lot of stuff. Like you can't schedule releases and stuff. It's like once you upload it, it's released. I pay for I guess the mid grade tier since I have locator and DE, and it allows me to schedule. I can be like, all right, this single is coming out this day and stuff like that. But I mean, in the last few years, they've really upped their game where they come up with the little promo cards you can make or even videos and stuff to just like really help gather your following and stuff. So, yeah, personally, I can't speak on any of these issues. I have nothing but good things to say about DistroKid. So,
That's good. Let's keep that going. All right. So, I guess speaking of which, I guess I know you mentioned about a concert earlier at the one skate park. I guess. So, what are plans you guys got for this year? Got plans for some new material to be released?
yes. So with D right now, we're going in the studio in end of March, recording 3 songs that will either be an EP in and of itself or a split. We haven't decided yet, but we're gonna do something with that. We have several shows lined up for right now, and then with Locator, we just played a show the other week for a friend of the other guys who unfortunately passed away last year from cancer. We were able to raise a good amount of money for cruising for cancer and everything like that. So that was awesome. We have one show lined up in May, and we are talking about with Locator to either maybe possibly do some new recordings or do another EP or something. There's no tentative plans right now, so it's kind of like up in the air. But with the like I said, we're gonna recording 3 songs. There are a couple songs that we've been playing for a while, and then some that are new. We're recording Walk Headlong into the Abyss, which has been around since Clayton was in the band. We're recording 2 newer songs that we wrote with Damien, which are Fear the Old Blood and Those Who Dwell in Ash. And like I said, there's either going to be an EP in and of itself or it's going to be a split with somebody. We're not 100% sure yet. And then we got like a few we got one in March and one in May right now. So that's about as far as we get. We usually don't book out too far because it's kind of hard. Like our guitarist Paul, he has his child every other week. So we have to kind of akin to that. We know, okay, this week is practice, so next week is not. So when we have shows, it's like if Paul's is good for it, most of the rest of us are good for it. So we have to manage our schedules. Plus with me, like last year in my career, I started traveling more, so I go guest spot. Like I'm going to be guest spotting in Richmond the end of next month. In April, I'm going to be in Roanoke, and then in June, I'm going to be in Nashville tattooing at the Nashville Tattoo Convention and stuff. So, we kind of over. So everything's planned around everybody else's stuff.
So, like I say, you keep yourself busy. So, all right, that's good. So, go like soldier. All right. And last questions right here before we jump into the fun ones. I guess what advice would you give to musicians who perhaps go for some sort of, I guess, mental struggle too? Because I know you mentioned about manic depression and that sort of stuff. So I guess what would you give to those people?
What I would tell to anyone wanting to play music or anybody musician, anything like that, I was like, don't give up. Just do it. Just play. Have fun with it because, don't take it serious. Don't come into music thinking I'm going to be the next big thing or anything like that because it's not going to happen. Like, it really is. And let's be honest, like, it's especially in heavy, aggressive music. It's too difficult nowadays. Like, there's never going to be another Metallica. So we just kind of, you play and have fun, enjoy it, everything like that, I know now, especially, I don't really encounter it in music, but in my tattooing, I get a lot of imposter syndrome. And so I have to kind of remind myself to, like, hey, like, don't compare yourself to this guy, especially I think in music too. If you're like, well, this band is amazing and they're doing that. Well, okay, good for them. But who's to say that they didn't spend all those years struggling? Like, I mean, a band that's exploded in the last few years. I mean, 2 bands, Lorna Shore and Knock Loose, both bands have been around for like 10 years or more and they've just been grinding it out. And so, if you want to get somewhere, that's what you have to do. But, at the end of the day, you can't ever give up. Just do it. Like, Paul says it best from D. He's always like, we play music to keep the sad away. And that's kind of how I look at it. That just like play and have fun and enjoy it. You know, be up there and have fun with your friends. And if you're doing that, like nothing can ever go wrong.
That's fair enough. Which is say, like, you don't need a therapist. Music is your therapy. So,
Oh, absolutely. I told somebody the other day, they were like, what's it like on stage? I'm like, there is nothing more intoxicating than looking out and see a crowd full of people beating somebody else up to your music. It's the best drug on earth, like, because it's so incredible to see people vibing with your music that much and stuff. So, like, yeah, if you've never been on stage and everything, you never understand. But if for the people that have, they get it, man. There's nothing better than looking out and seeing a bunch of people just getting down with what you're throwing down, you know? It is definitely a very great feeling.
that's for sure. Especially when you see them like jumping around and swinging their arms, like you said, with like trying to fight invisible ninjas or something.
Oh yeah. Well, at the last locator show, unfortunately, somebody ended up getting their nose broken in the pit during our set, you know, and everything. He was chill about it. He was just like, "Yeah, we gotta get this," and I was like, "Damn, man, that's like, you know, it happens though. I mean, Lord knows we've all gotten it. I've gotten my nose broken a couple of times and other stuff, you know, war wounds and everything like that. But keep going."
That's for sure. Though I've always stuck clear of it, to be honest. Almost came close the one time. I was always tempted to go in because, let's see, it was actually a concert. It was with 6 Feet Under and Nile who had came. And the two previous bands that were on was Psychroptic and Embryonic Autopsy. So it was a little bit of an opening. I was thinking going back to my old football days, just like running in and just banging with the shoulders and all that stuff. So,
Right.
but they like, wait, I gotta go to work tomorrow. So probably best not to screw this up.
Oh yeah. I feel that. I tell myself every show, I'm like, okay, don't go crazy. Be calm on stage. 9 times out of 10, I have to work the next day. Yeah, yeah. Travis doesn't listen to himself, and then I'll be at work the next day. Oh my back, oh God, it hurts. But it's worth it. It all worked out in the end. As long as somebody had fun and enjoyed it, it's worth it to me. So
All right, fair enough. So Travis, we've reached for the questions here. Very good. So here, let's jump to some fun ones. Ready?
yep.
All right. So I'm curious if there's a particular dish I haven't heard about in your neck of the woods, but we'll start here with the first one. What would you say is currently your favorite food?
Man, favorite food. Well, I live pretty much predominantly off Mexican food. That's my favorite go-to if I had to pick just anything. But I mean, honestly, I like just about anything. Like I could eat anything, but yeah, if I was gonna have to say anything, I'd have to say Mexican food. And favorite dish I don't know, from that would be hard. That's a hard question. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of different foods. I'll just go with that because it's too hard to pick just one. There's a lot.
Go with the burritos, quesadillas, all that stuff. Are you like a spice fanatic, or do you just like to keep it mild?
I like a little spicy. I can't do the super spicy stuff. I have to live on heartburn medicine and everything, so I can't really do the super spicy. But yeah, it just depends on what it is. Like there's a lot of Mexican restaurants around here, and certain restaurants I'm like, all right, I get this one from this one, this from this one, that from that one, and stuff and everything. But I just like food in general. Like the funny story about it, we just saw the other day. I don't know if you ever heard of the national food chain Dave's Hot Chicken. Well, they opened one in Richmond, and I saw it the other day. I was like, "Holy crap!" I've been like stalking their Instagram for years, waiting for one to open around here because it's from Texas, and I saw it, and I was like, "Dude, we're going," and we went, and me and my girlfriend went, and it was delicious. It was awesome. It was worth the wait, but yeah, it's just stuff like that. But I'll be adventurous sometimes. I'll be like, hey, let's try this. Let's see what this is. You know, if it's good, it's good. If it's not, don't ever get it again.
It was worth a try. Actually, the one chicken stop I have up here is more of the Raising Canes.
Oh yeah, we have one of those in Charlottesville, which is about 40 minutes from here.
It's a good chicken. I would say it's bland, but when you dip it in the sauce, definitely very good. But nonetheless, great choices. So for our next one right here, not sure if you're a TV fanatic in terms of movies and TV shows, but I guess you got a favorite movie, TV show you like to share?
As far as favorite TV show, I'm gonna have to go with Breaking Bad because I literally can't see myself in the camera, but there's Breaking Bad tattoo right there. Breaking
Heisenberg.
Bad. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. And yeah, Breaking Bad probably for TV. As far as movie, man, there's so many that I really enjoy and stuff. But there's also like I forget a lot of them too. Actually, no, I just actually I could have to turn around and look at my DVD collection. True Detective season one. That's probably my top tier favorite TV show of all time because that show was so good. Um, Breaking Bad's definitely number two, but movies, I like a lot of different movies. I mean, Scarface was one growing up. The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. More recent years, the Korean version, not the American version of Old Boy, is one of my favorite. I Saw the Devil was really good. There's a lot of stuff that I like. Tropic Thunder is a funny one that I enjoy, so I kind of go all over the place with it. I'm not a fanatic with it. The only thing I watch religiously is I grew up watching pro wrestling, and so I watch a lot of pro wrestling. So I still watch WWE and AEW every week. So that's like, you can't see it, but in front of me is literally my wall of like wrestling figures that I collect. So yeah, it's literally like the entire collection of stuff and everything, but it's about it for that stuff. I'll watch different stuff here and there, Bob's Burgers, stuff like that, but there's nothing I really watch too religiously, but like definitely Breaking Bad, True Detective season one. Season four, the Night Country wasn't bad, but season one is top tier. Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, with Woody Harrelson playing the straight guy, is so interesting, but it's such a good show.
That explains why Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey keep showing up in those commercials. Uh, Not the Schwab ones. I was just seeing it the other day, but they've been showing up in these commercials, right? Too. It always looks like Matthew McConaughey puts himself in these awkward situations, and Harrelson's just chilling like a villain, as I would say. So, yeah, great choices there. And I think the thing that was always kind of bugged me with Breaking Bad was, even though it was good to have like the realism, I think unfortunately it started moving into real life. Like what you see, what happens with like Missouri, Kentucky, and those places where meth production kind of goes out of control now because unfortunately they find out how to produce this blue meth, so to speak. So I had a
Yeah.
family member who was doing that sort of stuff, and unfortunately she was seeing family members who were struggling with that sort of addiction.
Yeah, no, I mean that is fair because art is your life kind of imitates it sometimes, so that is always unfortunate of it and everything. So I can kind of see that. I've never had anyone that I know would be addicted to meth or anything like that, so I can definitely see where that'd be that, and especially with that type of TV, they made it very realistic with like some of the stuff they were dealing with, even the stuff with the cartel and everything. So I can kind of get it, and I think that's what captivated most people because they're like, I don't know anything about this. They're like, oh, this is great, great. But when you actually have to deal with that or dealt with it in family and stuff like that, I could definitely see where it's like, this is a little too real. So, I get that way sometimes about certain things, about suicide and stuff like that, because I've attempted it in the past and everything. So, like to get to a thing where sometimes I'm like, okay, yeah, I can't watch this. This is a little uncomfortable. More recent years, definitely after the death of my dad and everything, seeing a death that I remember not long after he passed going to see it, was it Infinity Wars or whatever like that, and the death of Iron Man. I mean, spoiler alert, movie's been out for years if people haven't seen it, but seeing that on screen, that hit me a lot harder than it should have. Definitely hits you a lot harder. So I kind of understand from that regard, like certain things now. If I see like a death scene or something like that, I'm like, yeah, let's just go ahead and fast forward past this a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sorry for your loss. So that is good to see you doing well there. So, okay. Now for the next fun questions right here. I guess what would you say is your favorite alcoholic drink, and what's your favorite non-alcoholic drink?
I don't have a favorite alcoholic drink because I've never drank alcohol. Up until recent years, I was straight edge, didn't touch alcohol, anything like that. I started taking THC gummies to help with my anxiety and the sleep and stuff like that. So, I don't partake in smoking or anything like that, but I do use gummies and stuff like that to help with it. So, as far as regular drinks, I'm a Southern boy, so I do enjoy sweet tea, though. The other year I got diagnosed with diabetes, so I had to like stop that. And thankfully now everything's in control, and hopefully when I go to my appointment in a couple weeks, I can get off the meds and stuff. But as far as that, I'm gonna go. My absolute favorite, but it's so hard to find, is Pib Zero. I enjoy Mr. Pibb, but the Pib Zero, for whatever reason, doesn't come around here. I can either order it off Amazon or I found it in Georgia randomly, but that's about it. But close second, Pepsi Zero. I'll go with Pepsi Zero and do that. I mean, I got the Coke sugar-free orange cream, which wasn't bad. It was a little weird for sugar-free, but yeah, I definitely nothing like that about alcohol. Any of that, I don't partake, so don't have a favorite alcoholic drink.
That's good. So, all right. Congrats for being sober there too, mate. And being still a straight edge, I guess. So, all right. And for the last fun questions, here's how I'll word it, because I know it gets a little tricky at times. But if you have a favorite song from the independent community and what you consider the mainstream world, feel free to share. Otherwise, if it's too much, list top 3 bands from each the mainstream and independent community that you want to give a shout out to.
Yeah, that's hard to pick like a song or whatever like that. I mean, man, a song. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough choice. I'm gonna have to go with more just the name of the bands. If we're gonna go independent bands, um, I'm gonna have to. And it's gonna be a weird list too. Definitely up there is Thou, which are a sludge band from New Orleans. Love Thou. They're incredible. We got to play with them years ago, and they're so good. Another one's gonna be Mountain Goats. They're an indie band, but I love the Mountain Goats. I love John Darnell's voice and what he writes about and stuff. Um, and then another one, oh man, it's so hard like to sit here and think of these bands and who I would say. I'm trying to think if there's anything I've been listening to a lot lately. They're a little smaller band. They just released a new album. It's actually pretty good, but they are starting to get some kind of notice. Mongrel, I believe they're from California. I think they're really good. They just put out a new EP, and it's incredible. As far as mainstream acts, I mean, I grew up listening to Metallica and Slayer and stuff like that, so they always have a place. I mean, I guess you can say Crowbar because they kind of reached mainstream success, and oh yeah, I'll just go with Metallica, Slayer, and Crowbar because that's about all I can think of right now. I could literally spend hours thinking of it, and I still wouldn't really come across anything that though because my tastes change every day. Like one day I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm in the mood for '90s country. The next day I'm gonna be like, yeah, I just want to listen to underground hip hop. The next day I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna listen to this. And at the shop we listen to so much different stuff that like it depends on who gets in the shop first and who takes over the fucking radio that day and stuff like that. Our my apprentice, she wants to listen to 2000s hip hop. If it's one of my other coworkers, he wants to listen to nothing but death metal. Somebody else might be like, oh, I'm going to listen to Zach Bryan today. Somebody else might be like, oh, I'm going to listen to 80s. So it's just so much stuff and everything that it's just, yeah, I can't pick it's hard to sit there and just pick a couple. There's a lot of music, and as long as it sounds good to me, I'm going to listen to whatever. So it depends on the day and the mood and what I'm feeling that day particularly.
Fair enough. I think from now on is that be like an emergency option. We'll select all the above just to like make it easy on people. So I know people struggle whenever that question comes up, but it's always best to. I'm curious if there is like a favorite song, so that's why I bring it up. So, okay. So Travis, we're down to one more question on my podcast right here. Before we close out, I guess would you like to ask me any questions or say any final words before we jump into it?
Not to really ask any questions though, but I do appreciate, you doing the podcast, bringing musicians on and doing stuff like that. It's awesome. It helps it out a lot. Even if it's just one or two new people like our music to us, it's a great deal and stuff. I've I can't do it. I couldn't do a podcast because I can't. I wouldn't know what to keep straight and everything like that. Plus, I get so peopled out some days. It's just like, But I appreciate all that you do for what you do and everything. So it's definitely much appreciated.
No worries. But thanks for reaching out too. It's a good thing you're good friends with Alex and the boys from Lux Exterminate, so that helped out. All right. But if there's nothing else, here's how the last question goes. So given what COVID has done, obviously it seems you were a little blessed. I know you kind of dealt with mental struggles and that sort of stuff throughout your life, but for those musicians and people who are dealing with anything else in their lives, whether it be because of COVID, mental issues like mental health, what we were talking about earlier, or dealing with drugs, alcohol, that sort of stuff, what's their message of hope would you give to those people so they can try to move forward with their lives?
I mean, most simplest message it could be is that you're still here, you're still breathing. There's a chance that tomorrow could be better, you know? The fact that you still are here is a great thing because there's a lot of people that aren't, whether it be through, dying of COVID or something else related or taking their own lives and stuff like that. Like, we're still here. There's always hope because without things can always get better. Lord knows I went through phases. I'm 42 now. In my younger years I thought like, oh man, it ain't gonna get no better than this. In my 30s I was like, well, this sucks, life is horrible. And I'm in a good place now. I got a good career, I own my own house, I have a wonderful girlfriend, I have great bandmates and stuff like that. So like, life can always get better as long as you're here and you're giving it a good go. Just keep your head up and keep moving forward. Worst comes to worst, live out of spite. Just be like, screw it. There's probably somebody out there that doesn't like your existence, so live out of spite. Just be like, hey, I'm here, because you don't like me, so I'm just going to keep being me.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but all right, proceed with caution in that case. So, and spoke like a true prodigy. So, all right, Travis, we were trying a podcast right here. We talked a little over about an hour 10, close to about an hour and 20 minutes, but I guess before we close out, like to give any other shout outs, any final words before we close?
Yeah, make sure to go online, check out Diseased Earth and Locator. You have to spell Locator LCTR. Check out, keep an eye on our music and stuff like that. Keep going to shows, keep doing other stuff, keep supporting this podcast and everything like that. Just keep living and enjoying life as long as you're here. Because, as far as we know, this is the only ride we get. So we might as well try to enjoy it as much as we can. So, keep supporting stuff. Music is worth supporting out there, and you never know. A local band might be your next new favorite band, and they might blow up one day. So go out there, give local bands a try, check out new stuff. If it's not your thing, hey, go anyway. Maybe you'll make some new friends. It's worth experiencing. Lord knows some of my friends in life that I know now I've met because of because of shows and stuff like that. So it's definitely worth, giving it a go. So that's about the best I could give for a final word. So, and get tattooed. Yeah, that's another thing. Get tattooed. Come see me if you're in Virginia. Come get tattooed. But other than that, hey, keep doing the best that you can do.
All right, fair enough. And I know you mentioned about social media area. Can you just list one more time for the audience what social media and streaming platforms you're on so they can check you out and interact?
Yeah, Diseased Earth. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music. Pretty much if it exists, we're out there. We have an official YouTube channel, Locator. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. I control the Diseased Earth YouTube, and there are a few Locator videos that are put up there as well. So yeah, just look us up. We're out there. We exist. So come find us.
All right, sounds good. And to close out like this. Everyone, my guest today was Travis, from the lovely state of Virginia right there. State of Virginia, to be more exact. He's part of his own projects, Diseased Earth and Locator. So make sure you go hit up all socials, all streaming platforms and everything here too. Thanks again, Travis, for reaching out and making this happen here too. So, brother, I wish you all the best going forward there, mate. So good luck this year and stay safe. Rock on. Stay tuned.